Hey guys, welcome back, Bolt Spider here, and since the ban list has been taking a bit to release, I might as well go back to past formats and talk to you about a few certain decks. Now, the first one came to mind when my friend and I were doing a scuffed version of a progression series where him and I opened up 3 boxes, and on top of that, it's not recorded. So, as I was opening packs and waiting for him, I am so far ahead of opening packs so I could pre-plan everything, and this was one of the things that I found to be there. So what is this deck? This is Frog FTK. Now, what is Frog FTK? Frog FTK is pretty much what it says: Substitute Mass Driver FTK with another monster. Now, I need to squeeze in a third Mass Driver because I prefer 3 Mass Drivers, because the full combo, believe it or not, is 1 Swap Frog, 1-for-1, any Blink monster, and a Mass Driver. So, if we get a good hand, I could show this 100% off. This is a great hand, actually. So, we're just going to go Mass Drive, or Moray Agree back 2 to draw 3. Then we're going to set the Mass Driver, normal summon the Substitute, special summon Swap Frog, affect the Swap Frog, and then we get out. We send the Rowan. This card came out in the Shining Darkness of 2010. And for 4 months, this deck reigned terror on the format. Because it was an FTK, it was kind of consistent, and overall, it is definitely dangerous. The only hand trap that we had to stop the deck was DD Crow, but no one really ran DD Crow because of the reason that I don't believe people thought about it, and plus it was a little hard to access at the time. And this combo, you're just flying through all your cards in your deck, you're substituting out all your frogs, and Swap Frogs sending the other cards in your deck, like a Toad or a Rowan, so you could just fill up your graveyard. Even though you can't banish your Toads off of your Rowan Tonen, you can banish all your frogs. This is why the deck is so potent. You just cycle through your whole entire frog lineup, all your frog army, and that just creates so much advantage in your graveyard, because this is actually one of the very first decks that utilized the graveyard around this time, because no other deck actually has. And one of the combos in this deck is opening up Mass Driver, a Blink card, or a Fishborg Blaster, and a Substitute, and you just keep going. Some of the things in the extract, like you're running Junk Destroyer, Archers, and others. Synchro monsters that rely on Synchrons, you pretty much blank in, or you blanket into the full entire board. And this is where the FTK just goes in. This is why Substitute was banned, was because of this deck. They didn't hit Mass Driver for the longest time, but FTK still happened with this card, because if I remember, the next list for March of 2011, that's when they banned Mass Driver, because there was more Mass Driver FTKs and everything going around, and I think Frog FTK could still possibly happen just without Substitute, because you also have other things banned like Goyo Guardian, you on top of other things like Cold Wave, because Cold Wave was a powerful one of in the deck. And overall, this is how the deck functioned. You just keep Rowan Toning out, banishing a frog, summoning out Rowan Toten, and you can do, if you have both of them in the graveyard, you just constantly cycle them, and you just tribute off all your Rowan Totens. Now, I don't think this is game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5 up to dupe 10. Yeah, this is more than enough for a game. So you just keep summoning out your own tonens. It's a constant loop that your opponent cannot call judge on because you're progressing the game state just because of a simple card. Now, Rowan Totem would be more broken if he could also banish Toad cards. Because if so, you can easily cut a few cards out of the deck. Because you have those extra copies, like you can banish Rowan Totem himself off of Rowan Totem, or you can banish Substitute itself off of Rowan Totem. This is why there's that separation between the toads and the frogs, so they don't get abused super well. Swap Frog is that median between each of them, where you can send any of them, which is quite interesting. And we see we only have 5 left, but that's enough for the FTK. Overall, this deck was a Tyrant for quite some time, and I was happy I didn't play in this format, because it was just all frog. Because when you look at the deck list, almost every single card in the deck is common or rare. So this deck is super budget to build. And I'm just going to card Destruction before this last one. And then we're just going to Rowan Totem for a game. So overall, when we look at this deck, how many commons and rares are there? How many holographics are there as well? There are no holographics in the main deck. Only cards that are rare are things like 1-for-1, Hand Destruction at the time, and I think Fishborg Blaster Substitute, and that's pretty much it. All of the rest are common. And Treeborn Frog, you could play Ulti Treeborn Frog, but other than that, everything is super low rarity. The extra deck, on the other hand, you have Ultra Secret, Super, Ultras from the Structure deck, Ultra, Secret or DT, Secret Rare, and lowest is Rare. So overall, this deck is super budget. Now, for the history of how this deck came around, they had all their pieces gathering up throughout time. Things like Dupe Frog, Swap Frog, Basil, Des Frog, Flip Flop, Unicorn, or Uni, and Poison Drop Frog, along with Substitute, were out. The only thing that they were missing was a recursion card, and this came out in the Shining Darkness. Rodent Totem made this deck possible to be an FTK if you open up the correct hands. If not, you are going to not like life because your highest attack monster is 1900. Overall, this deck has a lot of lower attack monsters, but with how the sideboard is, you can easily express that by blanketed in things like Cyber Dragon, Quick Draw Synchron, and many other cards. And one of those being your lovely Gores and Light and Darkness Dragon. Because Light and Darkness Dragon, at this time, it was a powerful floodgate and causing a lot of havoc because you can easily get out 2 monsters without summoning at all. This deck went up against other decks like Lightsworn, Sabercat, and many others. But luckily, this deck is still locked away in history because Substitute is banned along with Mass Driver, but today the FTK would still be possible with one card, being the lovely Cannon Soldier. Theoretically, could Substitute come back? I would have to say no. Substitute is a non-hard-opt monster that created an FTK. Could Mass Driver also come back? If we still have Cannon Soldier by like 5 years, then it could. but it is a spell variant of Cannon Soldier, and it could just go to 1 and nothing more, because you don't know what type of loops there are that you could actually match driver away your whole board constantly every single time to do the game. But that would have to require a lot of setup, like how it was back in the Firewall FTK days with Cannon Soldier, Toon Cannon Soldier, or Amazon's Archer and Six Samurai. Overall, this was actually a fun deck to look back at, but knowing the devastating history it had definitely deserves its place in the very big terror of how the deck is. But anyways, hopefully you guys like this deck spotlight from the past. If you guys did enjoy, hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, please subscribe for future content. But anyways, I've been Bolt Spider. See you guys in the next video.